friends, this is Jamie. I want to welcome you to my channel today. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. This is part 2 of my Thanksgiving color and chat. In this video, I'm going to be shading the picture that we have been coloring, and this picture is from Tabitha Barnett. The book is called It's Fall, Y'all. And I thought I would just do record bits throughout the day of, it was Thanksgiving Day and I was having little bits of time, so I started shading away and recorded when I could. I did do a 2x speed on the shading. It's not a hyperlapse, so it's not super fast, but it is faster than normal speed. So if you're thinking, wow, she shades quickly, it's because it's in 2x speed. That way this video wasn't an hour long, because I did want to complete the page for you guys. Yeah, I am using the Artex 72 set of colored pencils. I know recently they put out a larger set on Amazon of the Artex pencils. I'll have to see about getting those in the future. I really do love the Artex pencils. I think they do a wonderful job. They're a soft core pencil. I am using, right now I'm working on shading the pumpkins. I picked kind of like an orange color that was darker than the orange that I used on the pumpkin to do some initial shading on the tops. I don't go all the way down. I just go, if you can tell when I move my hand, you can see I just go on the top and kind of the bottom. And then I go in between with this yellow-orange color just to blend it all in. And you can do this with any kind of pencil. It's pretty simple shading techniques. It's nothing too elaborate. I tried to keep it pretty simple because this is a really simple page. So yeah. I did notice with these pencils, if you go over and over and over and over the same spot way too many times, you can build up wax bloom. So keep that in mind. It's not nearly as bad as like Prismacolor pencils, but these pencils can do that if you layer too many times. The trick is just to go in softly and work your way through it. Here I'm doing some stems, just having a little pumpkin break. I pulled like a dark green, and then I pulled like a grass green, and then I also pulled like a lighter green. Not chartreuse, but it's just like a light yellowy green. That way I have 3 different shades of green for my page, for my leaves and stuff. Because we have the green for the corn husks and the leaves. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving dinner, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, and you were fully stuffed and everything got cleaned up and it was nice and relaxing. We ended up staying home and not going to family just because my kids' cold was not the best. So instead of sharing the germs, we just stayed home, and I did my own turkey here and some potatoes and things like that. Yeah. When I was pulling out my turkey and stuff, I was like, I know he's not frozen, but it was hard for me to get everything out of that thing. But I got him all cleaned up well and stuck him in one of those oven bags and seasoned up that baby and threw him in the oven. and he turned out just fine. So that's good. As you can see, I keep going back to places where I think, okay, this needs some more shading. I don't do anything too much. On the shading on this picture, I just add a little bit here and a little bit there to add a little bit of dimension. When I start shading the pilgrims, since they're closer to my lamp, I don't know if you'll see the shading nearly as well as when I do the shading on the Indians. And I think it's because of the light setting on my lamp. So it's a lot darker in real life. And I will post a picture of my completed page on Instagram. And if you are coloring this page with me, you can post your picture on Instagram, November color along with Jamie 22 is the hashtag. And I'd love to see what you do. Yeah. This morning, my kids got up and we turned on the parade. And as soon as we turned on the parade, all the Sesame Street characters were singing, and my kids were, oh, there's Elmo, there's Elmo. And they were all excited. And then my son that's 11, that's autistic, he started seeing all the giant balloons coming down the street, and he got all excited because it was like, oh, there's Bluey, and just different characters. There's a Minion, and he said, Mommy, can we get one of those balloons? I said, those balloons are bigger than our house. What? I said, they have a lot of guys holding that balloon so it won't float away. And he said, could it lift me up in the air? I said, I bet it could. He has a fetish with balloons. He's always liked balloons. Whenever he sees one, he wants it. He has to have it. And sometimes, at first it seems like, oh, harmless fun. But after a while, when you go to birthday parties or events or different things and people have decorated with balloons, we can have meltdowns because we don't have the balloon. And now that he's gotten older, we have been able to kind of talk him out of it, but it's still really hard for him because he just really likes them a lot. Here I'm shading the leaves on the page using some different shades so that it gives more of an autumn leaf look for the different leaves. And a tip, if you have red, like you're using a red, darker red, and you want to shade, and say you don't have a darker shade of red in your pencils, and you don't want to use black for shading your red, use dark green, because green is the complement of red on the color wheel. And if you use that for shading, it actually turns out really nice. And you'll see I will use dark green and do some shading on my red leaves with the dark green. So that's a little tip if you have never tried it. Use the complement color to do the shading on your base color. So for red, that would be green. For blue, I'm trying to think of the color wheel here. I think blue is orange. So you would want it, so it would be the lighter color would be orange, and then you would shade with blue. And then with yellow, you could shade with purple. So, yeah. Just different different techniques. See, I'm using the dark green right now to shade onto the edges of my leaves. So there are ways to get different variants in your shading with a limited amount of pencils. You don't need to have 150, 160, 280, pencils necessarily to get something that looks cool, because you can blend colors as long as you have the basic shades in your wheelhouse. It does take a little bit of extra effort, but you can achieve it. Mom! That's my daughter in the background. She's laying right next to me. I'm sitting next to her trying to get her to go to sleep, and yeah. And I know if I go in the other room to do the voiceover, she will choose to go in the other room and get in the kitchen and not go to bed, and such a mom's life. It's so funny. We make all this food today for Thanksgiving, and nevertheless, at 9 o'clock at night, my son still wants a bowl of cereal. Is anybody else's kids like that? You have to have a bowl of cereal before you go to bed. It's routine. You have to do it. That's him all the way. Such a cute guy. So, yeah, as you can see, once I get the color palette of the pencils that I'm using out, I kind of just stick with those. Like the yellow that I used on the squash, I used on the hair. The oranges that I used on the pumpkins, I used on the leaves. If you do that and kind of stay with the wheelhouse of the pencils that you've already pulled, it helps bring the colors all together in the end with your picture, instead of pulling a million pencils. And it makes it easier not to be surrounded with a million different pencils as well. Here I'm shading the skin tone just a little bit. This is just a peach color in the Artex pencils. And I decide that I want to give her, all these little characters, some rosy cheeks. So for the pilgrims, we're going to do more like a light pink cheek. And for the Indians, I use the red because their skin is darker and it works out better, because the pink doesn't show up nearly as much on the darker skin. Sometimes it does. Like if I use a Prismacolor Deco Pink or something, sometimes I can get it just to go on anything, because Prismacolors are very opaque. So it just depends on the pencil. And I'm using a light blue Artex colored pencil. I think it's the lightest one that comes in the 72 set, just to do some shading on the bonnet. I don't know if you guys spotted this when I was coloring the bonnet originally in the first video. The tails of the bonnet I colored blue instead of white, but I will do my best to fix that here when I'm doing the shading. I will actually take a white Artex pencil and try to make my tails lighter so that it goes with the bonnet a little bit better. But yeah, just doing some minor shading just to make the bonnet and apron and stuff pop out a little bit more. It's like creating a shadow when you're coloring clothing or coloring flowers or anything. If you want to create something to make it look like it's standing away from the page and not flat, you can create just a small shadow with like a light blue. Just depends. what color you're going for, but you could do it with light blue or you could do it with gray. And you don't want too much because you don't want to lose the fact that it was white. There's the white pencil I was talking about. I went over the tails just to make it just a little lighter. It's still blue, but it's just a little bit lighter, so it's not nearly as blue as the dress. When I do the shading on the dress, it's hard to see the shading just because the light, but it is there. This is indigo blue from the Artex set. I noticed that a lot of the colors that are in the Artex set are also in Prisma, like the names are similar. So that's interesting. I've never done a side-by-side comparison to the Artex and the Prisma colors because I feel like Prisma colors are their own thing. They're like own wheelhouse. I don't know if you can really compare them to other pencils because they do different things. Just like Polychromos, for example, I feel like they cannot be compared to any other pencil either, just because they do different things as well. A lot of the budget-friendly pencils kind of can be compared by others. I noticed that these are very comparable to the Arteza Expert pencils. So if you have the Arteza Experts, you probably would like these. If you like those ones. I do like the Artezas. The only problem with the Artezas is I feel like there's not enough browns in that set. And this one is just a 72 set, and I think it has like 5 browns or something like that. So I'm hoping in that larger set you have more variety of brown shades. You can achieve browns with mixing colors, but sometimes it's easier if you just have the brown shades readily available. I'm just getting a drink, guys, so I don't get scratchy throat. I don't know, did I say this was a voiceover? I think I did, but I don't know. Yeah, when I get done with the shading, I actually stop the video and do my background. I color all the background parts, and then I go back in and show you how I shade on top of the background at the very end so that you guys can see how I do that. For the longest time, I was debating to add glitter to this, but I chose not to. I just kept it basically markers and pencil shading. I did add a little white gel pen, but not that much. It was pretty much just to some of the fruit or some of the food. But yeah, nothing major. Now my daughter's now watching something on her phone, and you guys can probably hear it. Can you turn it down, sweetheart? Thank you. So the camera's gonna switch here for a second. I don't know if you guys will notice, because I have to stop the video for a minute to help my kids, and then I had to reposition my camera, and it's not exactly the same position, but I tried to get it the best I could. And then I start on shading the cornucopia. And the cornucopia, I actually use 3 different shades. I use a dark brown, a medium brown, and then I use kind of like a yellow ochre. So it's more like a warm yellow tan color, just because when I think of fall, I think of warm colors. And as you guys know, yellow is my favorite color. I tend to use yellow to add warmth to my pictures. When I'm doing trees, baskets, anything with brown shades in them, I usually add yellow and add that as highlighting, because I like to create warmth into the dimension. Sorry for the blurriness. It does get better. I tried to be better about the blurriness this time around. I know it went off and on a lot on our last video, so it will get better here, I think, after I lift up my hand after the cornucopia. So right now I'm just going over the lines that Tabitha has provided for us with my darker, and then I go over it again with my lighter, and then I take that like yellow ochreish, or it's like a yellow orange color, and go over that too. And it doesn't show up nearly as much as if, say, I used a Prismacolor pencil, because this particular pencil is not as opaque as the Prismacolors, but it's all right. Now we're back in focus. See, it comes and goes. I'm doing my tree real fast. Nothing too extravagant. I just chose a side to be my shadow side. So everything that's on the left of the tree is going to be my shadow, which is where I put my darker pencil. And then I will get my medium pencil to blend that out. And then I will take a lighter pencil like that yellow orange or yellow and go on the outside of the tree. That is my lighter side of the tree, creating the illusion that there's a shadow, or maybe the sun is coming from one side or another. I never really pick a light element with pages like this, because there's not really a light source.
Mama,
What, honey?
can you open the head?
Sorry, guys. There's really not a light source to pages like this, so I just imagine where I want my shadows to be. Now, if it's hard to do that, you could draw a circle, the illusion that there's a sun, and create everything to use that as your light source. But for the most part, I don't stress about light sources and stuff like that. Now, if there's like a picture that has a lantern or a light or a street light or something like that, sometimes I will go the extra effort to make it look like the light is coming out. Other times, I don't worry about it. It just depends how I'm feeling. So, yeah. Right now, I'm using my black and my darkest brown to shade the Indian's hair, because it's a pretty dark colored brown. And, yeah. And then I use a few different brown shades while I'm trying to figure out how to shade in the Indian skin color. But I'm still sticking with the browns and stuff that I already have pulled, because I want to keep my palette for my page looking the same. I want it all to look good. So it's very comparable to the tree and the cornucopia and everything. And I do give her a little bit of blush too, because she's smiling too. They're all happy. The Indians and the pilgrims. Here I'm trying to use the pink to give her blush, and I realized that that's not dark enough, so I used the red. and it's really powerful. So then I go back over it with a little bit of tan to smudge it out a little bit, and it looks 10 times better. What I do after a minute is I get one of my micron pens and I re-put in all their eyes, because I had colored over their eyes with the pencils, and it just darkens up their eye reflection, or their eyes dots or whatever. They don't have too elaborate of eyes. What's funny, when I first was coloring this, I didn't realize this girl was in, the Indian girl was in like flip-flops or thong type sandal things. I thought they were shoes, and then when I went down to start coloring, I was like, wait a minute, those are her toes. So, yeah, it threw me off. Luckily, I colored it correctly. Here, I'm just trying to perfect the skin, and then I start shading the outfit with a light tan color. And I notice when I'm shading clothing, it actually helps to have a blunt end on my pencil versus a sharp end. It makes it so that I can smudge the pencil better, and you won't see nearly the amount of pencil lines. And also, when I'm blending it out, I don't blend it out with lines. I blend it out in tiny circles, especially if I'm not going to have another color to go over top of it to help blend it out. So when I did the clothing, as you can see her dress, I just used that light tan pencil, and I started from the edge and worked my way out, and I used small circles and nice and slow small circles, and lightened up my pressure as I was getting to the center of her skirt or her outfit with the blunt end. Now, if you would have done that with a sharp end, you would have saw every single line. But with a blunt end, it looks smudged. So having a blunt end is a good thing in some cases. Having a sharp end is a good thing for some cases. Sorry about that, guys. My voiceover just turned off when I was, I don't know what I did. But you can see the difference between my Indian girl and my Indian boy that hasn't really been shaded. Just how a little bit can go a long ways for making it look flat, like compare the clothes to pulling it away from the page just a little bit. So a little bit can go a long way. Here I'm just shading my Indian boy here. Something about Tabitha's little characters remind me of little figurines that you may like display like out for the holidays or something, or even those little toys that you give your kids, those little people toys. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think they're called Little People. I think they're from like Little Tykes or something. They're like plastic. They remind me of those a little bit. I just like how simplistic and cute they are. It's just so fun. She has a fairy book that says Meet the Fairies. It's a travel size book. I have that book, and I really need to color in it. I got it because I thought it would be fun to just color them, and then I lost it somewhere in my house. And recently, when I went through all my books and stuff, I found it again. So I really need to pull that out and color some of the fairies, because they all have different names and they're just super uber adorable. Yeah. I thought this page was perfectly fitting for Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims and the Indians. And if you're doing my November breakdown prompts, you could use this for Happy Thanksgiving, which is the bonus prompt this month. Or you could even use it for the Neverland prompt, because you can color Indians for that prompt, because there's Indians on Peter Pan. So it covers 2 prompts in one. So look how cute those little Indians are now that they're all shaded and stuff. And now I'm going to do the turkey. I attempt to try to lighten up his head, and it was a sad, sad attempt. So then I have to go over it with some different colors to try to make it look okay. Yeah, in the end, he turns out all right. But yeah, I went over a few times. Here's with the white, I was trying to lighten his head, and yeah, that wasn't going to happen. It actually made it look worse in the end. I guess the white didn't like going over that brown color. You live and you learn. I'm sure the Prismacolor white would have done better, but I wasn't going to pull out a new set of pencils. I already had all these out, so I just work with what I had. A lot of times I just work with what I have. If I have a certain pencil set close to my desk, that's the pencil set I use. If I go out and I know I'm going to work on this particular page and I want to use these kind of pencils, then I'll have those pencils pulled. But if I just need some pencils just for some minor shading on a picture, I'll just use whichever pencils are the most convenient. So yeah, not too picky. My kids were really excited to see Santa Claus come down on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They were yelling and, "Mom, Mom, Santa Claus, Santa Claus." So I guess Christmas can finally start because Santa Claus came down the streets for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I asked the kids which was your favorite balloon that they saw, and they said, well, my son said Bluey. He really liked Bluey. And my daughter said she loves Santa Claus. He wasn't a balloon, but she liked him coming down. So that's fun. And then after that, they did the dog show. Like I said in the other video, they do it every year. My sister's dog, I guess they were watching it where she lives, and my sister's dog was just jumping all over trying to get to the TV because she was so excited to see all those dogs. With the feathers, I don't know if you noticed, I just did dark shading on one side of the base of the feather instead of going all the way around, and it actually creates a fan-like effect. And then I add a lighter shade on the opposite side. That way it creates this effect on the turkey so that the darker is going towards his head and the lighter is going away from the head. It's just an effect I like to use on peacocks and turkeys and fans. It makes them look like there's folds. I'm trying to focus the camera. That's why I have my hand there. But that's pretty much all the shading I think I do. And then I'll be switching the camera here in just a second. Oh, I add a little white highlight right there on the apple. and that's all I do for the white highlights. I tried to add it on the turkey, but it didn't work because I had too much pencil. All right, here I have done the alcohol marker background. It was really hard to decide what color to do, just because I didn't want to take away from so much. So I used this taupe color, and after I used it, there was a lot of lines and streaks from my alcohol marker. So I used an alcohol marker blender and did little circles throughout the whole thing to create this textured effect. And then after it all dried, I thought, okay, I'll do some shading with another color to show you guys how that looks. And I thought that the green would look good. So I just picked that Artex green. I think it's like grass green or something. And I'm just shading on the outsides of the broken circle with the grass green pencil. And this is in real time, this last little bit, just because it doesn't take me that long to do this. And you can see that the green pops up on top of that brownie taupe color with no problem. This is kind of a lesson or an effect that you could probably think about if you use tone tan paper. If you print off your images on tone tan paper, which is like a brownish colored paper, you can get different effects coloring on that with your colored pencils. Same with gray. Like if I would have done a background of a light gray, I could have added color on top of that, and that would have gave a cool effect as well. I wanted to keep kind of that warm tone throughout the picture, so that's why I stuck with the brown colors instead of gray. Now I could have went like with the warm gray, but my Artezas had this color, so I just went with it. And I don't know exactly what the color is called. Sorry guys. It's like a taupey color. I didn't want it to be the same colors like what the Indians were wearing, or the skin, or the tree and stuff like that. At first I thought I would do a green background, but then I worried that the stems and the leaves and things would get lost. So I did this, and I ended up shading with the green, which ended up turning out really, really nice. I like it. And this pretty much took no effort at all to shade this part. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but it will go back into focus. There it goes. And it's a lot darker in real life. It's just my lamp makes it seem lighter. But you can still see the effect that we're getting when I'm shading the green. Now I could have shaded with a darker green, but I wanted to give that essence of light. Kind of like a highlight. I still really like how my Indians turned out. I think they're really cute. I don't color Indians very often, and I really like how they came out. I do apologize that my hand constantly gets in the way, but what can I say? I have short, squatty hands, and they do the best I can. And I'm not using a super sharp pencil. It's kind of a blunt end as well, so it gives the smudge effect. And you can't see any of the imperfections because of the marbled look of the brown, so it works out to your advantage. You definitely can see the shading on the turkey a lot better here, and the Indians. And even like the pumpkins and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching me color this page, and I hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I want to thank everyone for supporting my channel and making it be the channel it is today. And I do really appreciate those that have friended me during this process of my coloring journey, and just all the kind, nice comments that everyone gives me. You guys are very sweet. And if you guys want me to continue doing color and chats, please let me know. Let me know if you want a long video on that collection for my Christmas winter books. And I will see you guys next time, and have a wonderful weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys later. Bye, friends.